Hello and welcome to Stack Foundry. Today we're going to be taking a look into Amazon Web Services or AWS. Whether you're exploring this for a hobby or looking to start a new career, this guide is the perfect place for you to begin. You don't need any experience because we are starting from the absolute basics and covering the essential concepts you need to get up and running. Here is what we are going to be covering today. What AWS is and why it's such a big deal, the AWS Free Tier and how to get started for free, AWS's global infrastructure, including regions, availability zones, and their importance, a guided tour of the AWS Management Console to help you navigate like a pro, and finally, a hands-on walkthrough of launching your very first EC2 instance, a virtual machine on the cloud. Okay, let's start with the basics. So what exactly is AWS? AWS stands for Amazon Web Services, and it's a cloud computing platform created by Amazon. Essentially, it's a collection of services that let you rent computing power, storage, and other resources over the internet instead of owning physical hardware. Imagine you're starting a project. Traditionally, you'd have to buy servers, set up data centers, and manage all the infrastructure yourself. With AWS, you can skip all of that. Instead, you can launch a virtual server, store files, or even run an app with just a few clicks. Now, why is AWS such a big deal? First, it's very flexible. It offers more than 200 services for everything from web hosting to machine learning models. Secondly, it's scalable. Whether you're a hobbyist building a personal app or a giant company like Netflix handling millions of users, AWS can scale up or down to meet your demands. And finally, it's cost effective. You only pay for what you use. In fact, companies like NASA and Airbnb all rely on AWS for their infrastructure. It's a platform trusted by millions worldwide, and by learning it, you're gaining a skill that's highly in demand in today's job market. Now that we know what AWS is, let's talk about the AWS Free Tier, your ticket to exploring and experimenting with AWS services without pulling out your wallet. The AWS Free Tier is designed to give you hands-on experience with AWS services. It offers three types of free usage. Firstly, the always free services that remain free for as long as you stay within usage limits, such as 1 million requests per month on AWS Lambda. Secondly, the 12-month free tier, access to popular services like EC2 and S3, free for the first 12 months after you sign up. Thirdly, we have free trials, which is temporary access to premium features of some services, usually lasting 30 days to 2 months. Now here are a few things that you can do with the free tier. On EC2, you can run a small virtual server using the T2 Micro EC2 instance type for up to 750 hours per month. On S3, you can store up to 5 gigabytes of data. And on Lambda, you can execute code in response to events with 1 million free requests per month. AWS also has a detailed free tier usage tracker in the billing dashboard, so you can always check if you're approaching your limits. Next, let's talk about one of the key reasons AWS is so reliable and scalable: its global infrastructure. AWS operates in data centers all around the world, which are grouped into regions and availability zones. Regions are physical locations spread across the globe, like North Virginia, Frankfurt, or Singapore. Each region is independent and contains multiple availability zones. Availability zones are isolated data centers within a region, connected by high-speed networks. For example, the North Virginia region has 6 AZs. Now, why does this matter? For a few reasons, actually. Firstly, redundancy and reliability. With multiple AZs in each region, AWS ensures that even if one data center goes down, your applications can keep running without interruption. This is called high availability, a term you will hear very often when using AWS services. Secondly, performance. By choosing a region close to your users, you can reduce latency and improve performance. For example, if most of your users are in Europe, hosting your application in the Frankfurt region will make it faster for them. Thirdly, compliance and data residency. Some industries or governments require data to stay within specific countries. AWS has regions in many locations to help you meet these requirements. In addition to its regions and AZs, AWS has edge locations that work with its content delivery network called Amazon CloudFront. Edge locations are scattered even more widely across the globe and are used to cache content. You can think of them as temporary save points for images or videos closer to your users for faster delivery. Now, lastly, one important thing to know about AWS is that not all services operate in the same way when it comes to regions. Some services are region specific, while others are global. When it comes to region specific services, when you create resources in these services, like an EC2 instance, an S3 bucket, or an RDS database, they are physically located in the region you select, and you cannot access them from other regions. And when it comes to global services, these services are not tied to any particular region. Such examples are Identity and Access Management Service, the Content Delivery Network, CloudFront, Route 53, which is AWS's DNS service. Now, why does this matter? When working with region-based services, you need to ensure that you're using the correct region in the AWS Management Console to access your resources. Else, you wouldn't be able to use these resources in your actual application. But for global services, you don't need to worry about selecting a region. They work seamlessly across all of AWS. Now that we understand the global structure of AWS, let's take a look at where all the magic happens. The AWS Management Console. This is your dashboard for accessing and managing all the AWS services. When you log into AWS, the console might look a bit overwhelming at first, but don't worry, we'll go through the key elements. Firstly, and at the top of the page, you'll find the search bar. This is your best tool when navigating AWS. Just type in the name of the service like EC2 or S3, and it will be shown to you, along with many other services that you might also be looking for. Right next to the search bar, you'll see the Services drop-down. This lists all the AWS services organized into categories like Compute, Storage, Database, and many others. At the top right, you'll find your account menu. This is where you can access account settings, organization settings, service quotas, billing and cost management, and security credentials. Now, when it comes to AWS services, each service has its own unique dashboard tailored to its functionality. For example, the EC2 dashboard provides options to launch and manage virtual servers, while the S3 dashboard focuses on storage buckets and file management. In this video, we'll see the EC2 dashboard, giving you a sense of how most AWS services are launched. To launch an EC2 instance, you'll first need to navigate to EC2. In the AWS Management Console, use the search bar at the top and type EC2 or Elastic Compute Cloud, either of which will show you EC2. On the EC2 dashboard, find and click Launch Instance. This will take you to the instance configuration page. First thing we'll need to do is give our instance a name. Let's add a meaningful name for our instance so we can recognize it across AWS. Tags can also be used to organize and identify your resources, but for now, we'll just keep it simple with just a name. Secondly, you'll need to specify an Amazon Machine Image, or AMI. You'll see a list of options in this section, such as Amazon Linux, Ubuntu, and Windows. We'll be choosing the Amazon Linux 2023 Amazon Machine Image. This is a lightweight, secure, and AWS optimized operating system. After choosing an Amazon Machine Image, you'll need to choose an instance type. We'll be choosing the T3 Micro, which provides 2 virtual CPUs, making it perfect for beginners. After that, we'll need to specify a key pair. Key pairs are used to securely connect your instance to make modifications and edits to it. If you don't have a key pair, click on Create New Key Pair and name it, for example, My Key Pair, and download the private key ending in the suffix .pem. And if you have a key pair, you can select it from the dropdown. Next up is network settings. AWS will create a default security group for you. This security group will allow SSH traffic, HTTP, and HTTPS traffic for web applications. These rules are fine for now, but always customize your security group for production use. And lastly, we need to configure storage. By default, AWS assigns an 8 GB general purpose SSD root volume. You can increase the storage size or add additional volumes if needed, but let's stick to the defaults for now. After you're done, review and double check your settings in the summary section, and then click Launch Instance. And that's it. You've successfully launched your first EC2 instance. From here, you can install software, host a website, or explore the EC2 dashboard further. In our next video, we'll dive deeper into managing and optimizing your EC2 instances for various use cases. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. And that marks the end of our introduction to AWS. Today, we covered a lot of ground, from understanding what AWS is to exploring the console, learning about region-based services, and even launching your first EC2 instance. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I'll be posting more beginner-friendly tutorials, deep dives into specific services, and tips to help you navigate AWS with confidence. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like me to cover, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.